If you're a dog trainer who's been in the game for a while now and you have a list of past clients that you've worked with, I'm going to show you a strategy that is going to give you an unfair advantage and is going to put yourself as the #1 trainer in your area. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how you can use these past clients' information for your advantage and get high quality clients. So my name is Jorge Mateo. I am founder of Canine Conversions, the go-to agency for scaling your dog training business. I am here to get you more clients, give you more revenue, and make a huge impact in your dog training business. So let's just dive right into it. There's this thing on Meta called custom audience, and all this information that I'm going to be sharing with you is a little bit more advanced. If you've never ran any ads before, that's fine. Don't worry about the technical stuff. Just think about what you can do with this information, right? And if you have someone in-house who's running your ads, you can just show them this video, or an agency who, that's someone who's running your ads. And if they do not know the concept of custom audiences, then honestly, it may be time for you to hire a new person to run your ads. So there's this thing called custom audience, right? And custom audience works based on information that you feed Meta, because at the end of the day, Meta works based on information. The reason why you probably came across my ad, or if you have on social media, or why anybody will come across your ad, is because we're targeting people who have a problem, have a dog, and live in a certain area of your location, right? The thing with custom audience, there's this thing where if you already have a client list, and full transparency, you do have to have a list of at least 100 people. So that's why I say, if you've been in the game for a while, this is going to be a huge advantage, right? So let's say, for example, if you've had already 300 clients that that you've worked with in the past. What you can do is that you can upload this list into Meta, right? So you're gonna upload this list, and then the thing that you need in order to upload this list is you need 1, the first name, 2nd, the last name, 3rd, the phone number, all right, and then 4th, the value. 5th is email. Forgot about email. But the most important part right here is the value, meaning how much they spend working with you. So let's say, for example, you have people who charge, if you charge people 1,000, paid you 2,000, paid you 3,000, you want to make sure that you have the value there, right? So what you do is you create this CSV file with each of the columns, with the first name, last name, email, phone number, value, doesn't matter what order, right? So what you want to do is you want to upload this list into Meta, right? You're giving this information into Facebook. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be like, hey, Meta, this is this information. These are the people who bond for me. These are their value. So technically, these are the highest type of quality, prospects that you can get based on this information, right? And essentially what you're telling Meta is like, hey, I want you to find people with the exact same characteristics. So what are those characteristics? Well, the main one is value. If there's a value, that means that they've bought from you. So that means that you're telling Meta, hey, Meta, I want you to find people who are not only dog owners, but also have this buying characteristics, right? And this right here is like crazy, because once you create that custom audience and you're telling Facebook to find these other people, now you're creating something called look-alike audience, right? So now you're telling people to find people who with the similar characteristics, aka lookalikes. And what you're doing is, once you create it, you have the option of creating a 1% lookalike audience all the way to a 10% lookalike audience, right? Obviously, the people who are 10% are going to be higher population, and the 1% technically they're going to be lower population, lower of those people, but they have the highest intent. So they have the highest buying intent. Why is this important? It's because instead of just running an ad on your local area saying, hey, if you're a dog owner and have this issue, what you're doing is part of the targeting, you're including this lookalike audiences. So now you're telling Meta, hey, Meta, I want you to find people in my area. I'm just going to put San Diego, for example. I want you to find people in San Diego with the age of 25 to 55 who owns dogs and also have this high buying intent. So once Meta starts finding these people, it's like these are the highest quality people or leads or prospect that you can talk to, because not only do they have a dog, not only do they have a problem, but they've already had this buying intent. They already have this history of like buying stuff, and Meta knows about that. So when you're doing the targeting, instead of just putting open targeting or just using dogs or just, dog training or behavior, you're starting off with the highest intent people. And the thing with that is like, yes, your CPL will increase, which is your cost per lead, but that is fine, because at the end of the day, it's like, why do you want a low cost per lead if everyone is not going to be qualified, right? What you really want is a low cost per acquisition. That is the number that we always strive to get, right? The cost per acquisition. How much is it costing you to acquire a client, right? So one of the best ones that we've had here at Canine Conversion, her name is Lynn, Canine OTC. And when I sit down with her and we went over the metrics and we looked at everything, we saw that the cost to acquire a client was right below $100. It was like $97, if I remember correctly. $97. So that means that she will pay $97 to run ads, and she will get one client from there. And her client, average client, is about $2,500, right? So imagine that. Will you invest $97? I'm gonna put $100. Will you invest $100 to get a client that is worth $2,500? Like, absolutely yes. Like, all day, every day, you name it. The only reason why she hasn't really scaled up to much more is because it's just her and her husband, and she just she's good at where she's at. So she's consistently getting $20,000 months. Now she's at a point she's growing her team, and we're gonna be scaling up her ads. But it's like a rigged, it's like going to Vegas and you're playing this rigged, like machine, and for every dollar that you're gonna get back, you're gonna get like $25 back, right? Kind of situation in this thing where she's like, for every $100 that she's putting on ads, she's getting $2,500, and all of this is, it's all because of the cost per acquisition. So the whole point of the story right here is like, don't be alarmed if your cost per lead goes high, because at the end of the day, it's like, what you're really looking for is how much is it costing you to acquire a client. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I rather have, it's like, we have two options. Option one is your cost per lead is like $2, right? And option two is like your cost per lead is like, $15, okay? I rather get $15 cost per lead if it's leading me to $90, $97 cost per acquisition, rather than getting, $2 cost per lead, but my cost per acquisition is like $250, which is still pretty damn good, to be quite honest with you. But you're starting to see the value of why cost per lead doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, the cost per acquisition is what matters the most. So with all this being said, how is it even possible that we can get a $97 acquisition besides like the system? Because it's more than just the leads. It's all about the systems, right? But it's because we're doing, lookalike audiences, meaning that we're targeting people with a high intent. So when you're launching the ads, or the media buyer that you're working with, or the in-house media buyer, and if you have that list and you upload that list, my favorite ones to work with are the 1%, the 2%, and then the 3% lookalike audiences. I don't really entertain anything between 4 and 10% lookalike audiences, because even though, yes, they have the same characteristics, these right here are much, much more higher intent. And they're low populated, they're lower population. The cost per lead may be a little bit high, but when you combine the, LLA for the lookalike audiences with the, the systems that you have in place, meaning how do you get a complete stranger to never heard of you to convert into a high-paying client? And when I mean high-paying client is because you already raised your prices. Your prices are premium prices, premium services, right? It's like when you combine this two, it's like, you can make a ton of money. You can have a really big return on ad spend, and this is how you really win in the game. And this is why I'm saying, like, this right here is some pretty advanced stuff that I just shared with you right now. And not a lot of people know this, but especially those, advertisers who haven't been in the game for a while. There's others, other people say that custom audiences do not work anymore. I see raw data, and based on all my clients, that are spending big bucks and have that history, those are the ones, the ads that have the biggest, return on ad spend. It's something that I'm currently running based on anybody who has bought from me. I'm also running these lookalike audiences as well. And that is what really gives you those big bucks. So again, this is why I'm saying that, if you're just someone trainer who's just starting off, maybe this video isn't for you, but for someone who's been in the game for a while and you have that history, you have that data, you know that you have more than 100 clients in the past and you know how much each of those had paid you, what's the value of them, then you can upload that list and not retarget that list, but create a similar list based on those same buying characteristics. So I like to call them as the twins, right? The twins of the people who've already bought, and now you're targeting those people. So this method right here works for local, but it also works if you have your if you have your online program. This works phenomenal, because now instead of local, it's like whenever you're running local ads, it's like out of the whole United States, you're only targeting a very small specific area, which is, let's say for example, San Diego County or San Diego City. Versus online, now you're targeting all of the United States. You have a bigger pool, but at the same time, it's like, even though you have a bigger pool of people, your targeting is very hyper specific, to the point that Meta is finding those people who have a dog and have a problem, and they've actually taken out their credit card and bought from you, and bought in high expensive premium services. So that is why I'm saying this method right here, this strategy just works phenomenal. And if you have that data and you haven't used this, then you're sitting on a gold mine, because these clients that I have who spend at least $25,000, like 90% of the budget is going to these lookalike audiences, because they just absolutely outperform any type of other strategy. So with that being said, if you're a dog trainer and you have a big list, but not necessarily have someone to run your ads, or you're looking into finding someone to run your ads, then right below this video you're going to see you're going to see multiple links, but the one I really want you to focus on is the transformation session link, because right here it gives you the opportunity to talk with someone with my team, and we'll take a deep dive into your business, what you currently have, and then see how we can implement these systems to your dog training business and use this strategy to help you get more leads, get more clients. Not only that, but qualified leads, more qualified evals. And when you combine this strategy with the systems that we give you, because at the end of the day, leads alone is not going to cut it. I don't care if it's like these type of leads, you still need a system. But when you combine these lookalike audience strategy with the system, you're going to be making a ton of money. So if you like this video, please just like and subscribe, share this video with any other your peers or any other trainers that you feel like this can be valuable for them. At the end of the day, it just helps the algorithm. My number one goal is just to provide as much value as possible for you. That way you can just win in the game of business. I'll see you on the next video.